Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. Hello everybody and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 126 and we're recording this live Sunday morning. That's April 21st, 2013. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And with me, as always,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association in Toronto.
Toronto, the playoff-bound Toronto Maple Leafs. That's where the home of the... I haven't been able to say that for 9 years.
I know. I even wanted to put on my Maple Leaf jersey today, but I had to put on something else, which I'll talk about in a second.
Because your Maple Leaf jersey is your pajamas, right? Do you sleep in your Maple Leaf pajamas? Is that...
I do. I'm all Maple Leaf. I'm blue.
I'm all Maple Leaf. All Maple Leaf all the time. Well, it was a big night, obviously, last night. Battle of Ontario again. The Ottawa Senators succumb to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but, much to the happiness and joy.
Not for lack of effort, though. 49 shots, one goal.
Crazy game. I don't know what it is. It's just like they can't score, they can't hit the net, they can't pass the puck, they trip over their own feet. I don't know what it is. This lore of Toronto, Ottawa. But anyway, congratulations to the Toronto Maple Leafs. It pains me to say that, but I hope to meet you in the playoffs with the Ottawa Senators. So it was a big week this past week. Before we get into the news, we have our 6 stories, we have our resource of the week, we obviously have our guest of the week and an app of the week, and they tie together, so we're not going to start with the app Fascination right off the bat. We'll do that midway through. We got a number of announcements. Asif, certainly you were in Chicago. Let's start there. You were at Retail Ramp in Chicago last week. Tell us, how was that? What was the vibe? What were the people feeling? Obviously a pretty tumultuous week everywhere else in the United States at that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so Chicago Retail Ramp Conference, about 500 or so people from the retail industry, all pretty senior, lots of big brands represented, and some great tech companies as well. I mean, the content overall was fantastic. Just a great array of speakers, including my good buddy Ramon De Leon from Domino's Pizza, my other buddy Jonathan Stevens from JetBlue. And just great speakers from, Express to Dunkin' Donuts to, you name it, we're there. Lots of people from Sears and Macy's and Costco and everybody. It was just a great lineup of people and speakers. And the vibe, I would say, is, because they do this conference twice a year, spring and fall, it's interesting to kind of watch it as it evolves. And I think people are getting more and more comfortable with, wanting to invest in these technologies, doing more and more pilots and testing things. The focus, I think, on the first day was still very much, kind of exploratory, looking at mobile payments and, that kind of technology, NFC and such, and where it's going. The ISIS guys were involved in that and talking about what they're doing as a number of others. And day 2 was sort of more kind of retail oriented, looking at indoor location, looking at, other kinds of in-store retail engagement technologies, as well as, augmented reality and a number of other things. So it was, it kind of jived with a lot of the trends that, as we see them. We talk a lot about indoor location, we talk a lot about AR, we talk a lot about these things. So it was nice to see the content lining up with where we see the interest and the trends from the brands themselves.
Anything that stand out, like you've obviously Ramon and John. These are leaders in the field, and certainly social media and mobile with JetBlue and Domino's. I mean, was there anything else that stood right out? You've watched the evolution of retail, but there's such a fear with retail and mobile and location and showrooming. We're going to talk about that with this, in our resource, Accenture's seamless retail study at the end of this episode. But was there anything that really stuck out that I ask you this every time you come back? Are retailers getting it? Are they embracing this? Are they hiding from it? What was your sense?
No, they're definitely getting it now. And maybe the best example of that is another good friend of mine, Christina Garcia from Office Max, was on a couple of the panels, and absolutely these guys, even with the merger and all of that they're going through, like, they are very focused on investments in tech, deploying this technology, trying new concepts, making this stuff work. And so, it's good to see it happening. And it's good for the vendor community too, because they're pushing this stuff out there, and it's nice to see that some of these big retail brands are stepping up. And
last question about this, because do you worry like retailers may miss something here, because there's natural first steps here where you're migrating your business into the digital world, and then there was e-commerce, and it was a slow migration, and then it's mobile, and it's kind of a land rush with mobile, and then everybody's kind of pulling back and looking strategically at how this is going to roll out and how they should roll it out, that seamless retail piece. But then they introduce things like augmented reality and payments in the line. And do you think that at this point it kind of confuses the retailer to think like we have to be that far out advanced, but really does the customer need that? Like, is there a gap still there?
No, I think where the gap is not there. I think the gap is different. So I think the retailers understand the need for this technology and the desire for the consumers, I think, in some respect, to want to use it. The challenge or the what slows it down is when you get to big retail like that, you have to worry about all the enterprise back-end integration stuff with point of sale and all your databases and all of that big data stuff. That most of the vendors who just come out with, oh, here's my AR thing, that you guys should really try, and it's cool. Yeah, it's cool, and maybe the consumers can get excited about it. But how does that tie in with 50 years of enterprise systems that are sitting here in the back end? And that's the bigger challenge, especially for payments, right? So I think that, and that certainly was clear at the conference as well. And so
yeah, they can't be they can't be interested in like, I'm fascinated by this. They can't just be interested in taking a screen, another tablet, and putting it right next to their POS. They want this seamlessly integrated. They want it with payments. They want it all brought into one system, right? So that must be a trend that you're seeing, is that even with Square and a separate cash register type of thing in existing establishments, will that fly? Like, was that the sense that you're getting? Was that kind of payments fly, or are they looking for, look, whatever it is, we want one solution, one screen, and we want it all to flow through that screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the latter. I think it's, they see the value in this stuff. They see the value in something like Square or Level Up or any of those kinds of things. It's tough for them to kind of take that step unless they can see how it ties into all the other systems, right? And that's what the message to the vendor community out there is: look, if you want to get these retailers truly on board, you need to think about that full enterprise back-end integration stuff if you want to get these big customers. So
it's maturing. That's exactly what we expected to happen. So very cool. Yeah. So when's the next ramp? Retail ramp, they do this twice a year, and the other one's in California?
October.
Yeah.
No, it's October. Also in Chicago.
In Chicago, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's always in Chicago.
Of course. Why would you go anywhere else when it comes to retail? Yeah. All right, so that was retail ramp. You've got a couple of events that are coming up this week. Seattle. Let's talk about what the LBMA is up to.
Yeah. So we're launching our newest chapter in Seattle. Hosted. This coming Tuesday, the 23rd. Is that right? Yeah, 23rd. And that's being held at Razorfish's new office there. So thanks to them for hosting that. And we've got a fantastic group of supporters. Some of our big members out there: Point Inside, Venue Labs, Costco's on the panel, Blazing Onion Burger Company's on the panel. We got people from Starbucks coming out. I mean, we got the local Seattle community involved, so it'll be a good event. Expecting it to lead to sort of great things in the future for us in Seattle, and then we move over the next day on the Wednesday, the 24th, to Atlanta for another LBMA Atlanta event. This time in partnership with AMA, the Atlanta Interactive Marketing Association. So we expect a big turnout for that one. And we've got another good panel for that as well. So we've got Arby's, Moe's Southwest Grill, Intercontinental Hotels, Benchmark Brands. I mean, so it's an all-brand, super panel there of some of the local guys, and it'll be interesting.
Amazing.
So excited. So join us in Seattle on Tuesday, Atlanta on Wednesday. I'll be at both. We'll see you there.
I love it. Frequent flyer, racking up the mileage.
Yeah. which leads very nicely into the next story, or the first story, I guess, that I wanted to share with you guys today.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead. Jump right in.
Why don't we jump into
Yep.
that? Yeah. So our first story is about an API actually called the Walkscore Travel Time API. Not sure about the name. I like the Walkscore part, and it is about travel time, but it's a bit long for a name. But anyhow, so what is this thing? So this is exactly from a use case perspective. It serves guys like me quite well, who travel a lot, and it's designed. It's an API. It's designed to be built into others, travel websites, hotel websites, whatever the case might be. And it comes in both an HTTP version as well as a JavaScript library. So if you're a developer out there and you're kind of listening to this stuff, you can build this in. So what does it do? So the core use case around this is, look, I'm going to Seattle this week. I got a bunch of meetings over the couple of days I'm going to be there. The meetings are at various offices all over the place. What is the optimal hotel for me that, in terms of walking distance, so that I could stay at this hotel and I can make all 4 or 5 of my meetings, and easily walk to them. And so this API effectively calculates all of that for you. It figures out the optimal hotel and recommends that hotel to you based on where your meetings are going to be, and then finds out yeah, I can walk to this one in 10 minutes, I can walk to this one in 15, I can walk to this one in 3, whatever, and sort of figures that all out for you. So it's a really neat way to kind of figure out, not just I want to stay at this brand or this whatever, but in terms of the business meetings that I have in a city that I don't know this could add a lot of value, I think, in terms of helping drive more hotel sales, but at the same time helping it be more efficient for the traveler.
This is great for non-branded, like tier 2 hotels for their marketing initiatives, and I really like this simply because if you've ever gone like to Hotwire, which is where everybody books hotel rooms now, anyways, or Priceline, they give you just an endless list. And you don't know where you're going to be, but you know where you have to be. And I think that's the thing that you can affect. So if you know that you can plot your, your meetings around and the fact that you like to walk to these meetings and you want to be central to that, boy, I think that this would be effective. Like I'm going to San Francisco on Tuesday for another event and a bunch of meetings, and I'm like, you know what? I got a little bit of free time on Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to a San Francisco Giants game, so now I'm trying to book my hotel in proximity to AT&T Park and all my meetings, and it's SoMa, it's in Nob Hill, it's around that area, but. This is I love this location layer on top of it. A value add. I don't know. Like I think that this is a great thing for democratizing data. I don't know how Walkscore makes money, and I hope that they don't charge hotels.
And it's not just for hotels. Yeah. They've been doing this before for finding apartments, finding
it's great
houses, real estate. So it's great.
Yeah. So if you go to Walkscore.com, you can actually take a look at this. There was a demo. I found it on. At the programmableweb.com. If you go there and just do a search for Walkscore Travel Time API, you will be able to find the demo. It's in Seattle, and it just kind of gives you an example, a case study on how this is going to do, and they're going to be rolling this out over the next little while. So Walkscore.com. And
currently available in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand.
Wicked. Very cool. I really like that. Good story. Good way to start. Positive.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Rob, what's next?
Well, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Nike and a bunch of these guys are trying to figure out how to do, I would say, interactive display advertising. So bus stop shelters, the ways to be able to draw attention to the bus stop shelter. Instead of having those bus stop shelter ads work. You call us, right? So Nike's done this thing, and they've leveraged 3D holographic image of their a brand new shoe in Amsterdam. This is a pretty cool way of doing it. But for me, it's not so much that Nike's doing it. I think that the technology behind this is very cool. Like it's kind of like, if it takes you back to, I've just been watching Star Wars with my kids, like the entire 6 movies. If you take back to that very first hologram of Princess Leia, and R2-D2 with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm geeking out here, but this kind of reminds me of that early stage of this, is that, I have questions around power source, but this is a 3D holographic digital sign that is pretty small, fits into display ads in bus stops and bus shelters, and it's transparent, so you can see it on both sides. It's pretty cool. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Obviously.
And so, you know, the application here is Nike's got a new shoe called Free. And then the key feature of this shoe is trying to demonstrate the flexibility of the shoe. So the holograph that they're displaying here is of the shoe bending and twisting and flexing and doing, you know, all that kind of crazy, movements around the, you know, how the shoe actually moves and how flexible it is. So I think it does get the message across. I did watch the video that you're alluding to as well, and yeah, I think it's a neat application. It's running in a couple of places around the city of Amsterdam in different districts, and they kind of put together a bunch of the big players around, you know, sort of media buying and advertising to make this happen. So it involves PSFK Labs, which is the main guys who kind of built this thing, in partnership with Mindshare, Kinetic, and JC Decaux, one of the biggest digital out-of-home and out-of-home companies, period. So, you know, it's nice to see that these guys are moving forward, trying new concepts, pushing the technology out there. And it does, I mean, if you see this, you know, holographic 3D shoe bending and twisting in a transit shelter ad, it is going to draw your attention. I mean, you are going to go up and look at it. You're not going to sit there and go, oh, you know, it's just another transit shelter ad. No. You know, and it's a, you know, it does draw the eye. It's totally different than the other thing that we showed, you know, a few weeks back with Qualcomm and the best bus stop ever, which was just a URL that, you know, you're standing there waiting there and you're like, what is this URL? So you type it in and crazy stuff happens. But, you know, the whole thing is, you know, how do we draw attention to people in this very cluttered, crazy world where everything's vying for our attention? And this is one interesting way to do that.
It's a gadget. It's a gimmick, right? And the company that does this, which is, I think, is the cool thing here, is that it's a company called Holocube, and you go to holocube.eu, and you can see a bunch of examples of the stuff that they've been doing. I'll pull it up here. Is that, you know, this is just an add-on to any kind of advertising. You put this in display in your windows. You can put this anywhere, and it seems affordable. It seems effective. But it's unique enough that you know it stands out. Will it stand out enough? I don't know. I mean, is it better to have that or a digital screen? I don't know. Right? I think it's about a call to action. Is that if you get my attention, what's the very next thing that I should be able to do with this thing? And maybe screens are a little bit better. I can tap whatever it might be. But this is a very cool use of 3D holograms. So if you're interested, go to holocube.eu. And you can take a look at the Nike example, and you can take a look at a number of the other examples that they've got going on. Very cool. All right. Yeah. What's our next story, Asif?
Well, our next story comes from a company called M Dialogue, and what they've been doing is working with big brands, big advertisers who do a lot of TV commercials in particular, and working on ways to take that content, to take that TV commercial content, and repurpose it for mobile. So taking that video, shrinking it down to something that can work well on a smartphone, and doing something what's called a tap-through video ad. So the idea is not just video, not just a video ad on the mobile device, but a video ad that ultimately allows you to tap through it, push to a coupon or an offer, and integrating all of that with Apple's Passbook technology. So that it's all geofence aware and enabled, so it doesn't just pop up anytime, but it pops up when when there's some relevance to it. And this is kind of interesting. So they've been working with a number of big advertising agencies and brands. Saatchi & Saatchi has been working with this. Fox has been involved with this as well on their mobile site, and a number of others. I think this is good. I think this is a we're spending a lot of money building TV commercials still, and if that content can be repurposed for mobile, I think that makes a lot of sense. And especially if you can find ways to drive that through, and from an engagement perspective, to get people to tap on these things, and reveal some sort of offer that's coming directly from the video, and have that integrated with Passbook. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. They've got guys like Lexus, American Express, Ritz-Carlton, already using this stuff.
This is. I mean, I'm not a big fan. I gotta think about this as I walk through this process. But I'm not a big fan of just repurposing existing content. The 30-second commercial, the 45-second commercial does not work in a mobile environment. You really have to Also, be thinking about how you can compress the length down. I mean, 5 seconds should be enough in mobile if you've done it right. Maybe 7 seconds, tops 15 seconds. But I like the idea that at some point during that ad, there's a call to action, there's a click to call, there's a click to action, whatever. And my belief is that, look, a lot of companies have to start to leverage what is existing on these devices. And Passbook is one of those tools that I think is underutilized, that we're going to start to see an explosion of activity as a result of this, because it is a default application that comes on 300 million devices right now. And when you add that location layer that's built into iOS and built into Passbook, getting from ad to Passbook should be a priority for many, many, many retailers and e-tailers, and especially when it comes to these things, is repurposing value. And it's funny because the media companies getting involved in this, Fox News, Wall Street Journal, they're trying to defend and the costs, right? So it's at one point now they have to be able to show the true value, the ad to conversion ratio, and not just a number, a metric that comes out once every 6 or 9 months. They actually have to show that, listen, yeah, you paid us to advertise in our property, and the result was these exact customers went to your door, bought something. And I think that that's what they should be looking at. And I think that the more we're going to see of this kind of stuff, the better. But I do think that the idea of just repurposing existing ads, and the fact that on a mobile device that you think I'm going to sit through a 30 or 45-second 45-second ad is just out of your mind. It's not going to work. You have to build for mobile strategically. But I think that this is the good first step. Repurposing, you won't get me to watch those ads. I'll flip through. And smart companies are not doing that. But the click to action, very important. And to Passbook, exceptionally important, I think.
There you go.
So if you're interested in that, you can go to mdialogue. That's exactly how it sounds, .com, if you're interested in a little bit more information about what they're doing. They're working with Fox, Wall Street Journal. It's pretty amazing. Mobile coupons is what they're calling it. Turning video ads to mobile coupons. All right, we are, first 3 stories, hammered. Now we're going to go through a little bit of a different setup here, because I actually was able to get Raj Singh, who is the founder of Tempo, on as a guest for Untether.tv. We're going to use a clip of that for our special guest here, but it also brought out the fact that I love this app. I love Tempo. It's a calendaring app, but it's a smart calendaring app. And I know that people say that all the time, but what does that mean? Asif, have you had a chance to use Tempo yet? It just opened up in the US.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I just pulled it down last night, actually, and I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. But from everything I've heard from people who are using it, it's one of the greatest things since sliced bread out there. And I'm excited. I mean, it sounds like the level of integration it has with everything else that I do. It just makes sense, and I'll let you explain it because you've been using it.
Yeah,
see better than me. But
I was able to get on very early before they had a wait list, because with any of these data intensive services, they had a wait list, and the wait list was something that Mailbox had to do as well in order to be able to bring enough people on to the system without it crashing, right? So they metered it out, and the wait list has now been alleviated, and they've launched in North America. This was only available in the States for a little while. In fact, they did a beta test up in Canada last year as a different company, just to test usability, and I love that. I mean, there's probably the equivalent of population in Canada is California. It's just the state of California. It's a good way to test and relatively the same values, principles, I suppose, and usage patterns. We're a very connected country in Canada. Good way to do beta testing. But this application, it just floored me. It integrates all those things that you would expect: your calendaring, all your social, all of your email. But then it starts to add contextualized layers on top of this. And I think that the big story here, and we talk about this in the episode, is really about the calendar as the platform. I mean, my operating system is not iOS, it's not Android, it's not Mac OS X, it's not anything. It is my calendar. That is my operating system. It is how I live my life. And so what Tempo has done is they put that at the basis of it, is the calendaring as the operating system. And I really believe that I'm already using it. You think about it. I tell people where I'm going. I tell people what I'm doing. And I tell my calendar, and I tell my calendar exactly who I'm doing that with. And then think about the contextual relevant information that that brings. It's rich.
Yep.
It is the very first predictive tool out there, right? It knows that where I'm going to be 4 weeks from now. It knows all the birthdays, all the anniversaries. The calendar is the operating system. It's the epicenter of your life. And if you manage a calendar like I do, these things become very, very, very important. And so, you know, my perspective on this is that it's not just a calendar. It is, you know, predictive knowledge of what I'm going to do. And then it's a matter of what can this application do to provide me with enough value, you know, ahead of time, or like, you know, simple things like airline delay notifications built into the system. Simple things like I'm going to be late for my meeting, or somebody's going to be late for their meeting. Traffic knowledge, all that kind of stuff is just at the basic level. And I think that that's what's so fascinating with it about this for me.
Yeah, and I think the one thing before you show the clip, you know, that has to be considered in that level of deep integration in your life is, you know, the data security, you know, privacy, you know, what happens, we don't want to end up in another situation like, you know, Oink and all those other, you know, or Goala or any of that kind of stuff where, you know, we give a bunch of data and then it just, you know, gets acquired or something happens and there's no way for us to kind of pull out, you know, and retrieve our data. So, right.
Absolutely. Like data security is very key. And these guys make sure of that. This is Tempo. Yeah. Emanates from SRI, who are the creators of Siri, and also the creators of the technology behind Circa that was acquired by Yahoo recently. And so you think about the power that SRI has when it comes to this kind of augmented knowledge that comes from these devices. There's a heavy emphasis on trust. There's a heavy emphasis on data sharing, anonymous data sharing, and I think that the security side of it and protecting that data is going to be very, very important. And you got to put faith, I suppose.
Yeah, you do.
That they're doing this right. But you know, again, you live out loud, you live out in the open. You want these devices to really do the things that they're supposed to do for you. Either you can embrace it or you don't, right? So don't use it if you're.
But you have. I mean, faith is it's the price of progress.
Faith is the price of progress. So that is perfect. Well, so part of this conversation with Raj Singh, who is the founder of Tempo, was around where do we go from this point with the calendar as the platform, as the operating system. And this is that clip. The entire episode will be up on Thursday of this week. So today is April 21st. It will be up this week. And if you're listening to this after Thursday, then it will obviously be up there. Go to untether.tv to check it out. But here is Raj Singh, the founder of Tempo. Is around this is that if you remove yourself from just the idea of calendar and you talk about intent and context, the sky ends up being the limit when you reach a threshold of users where the value that you can contribute as a result of the stuff that people put into the calendar all of a sudden escalates, right? Like I can just as an example, we talked about this on the way, right, or earlier in this episode. Which must seem like years for you right now. Like, didn't we start this in 2011? This conversation, the idea that look, I have a meeting, right, and I put it into my calendar. It's a very simple idea here, but I have a meeting that I put into my calendar, and it's at this location. And then, so what does Tempo do? It goes out and tells me to, what's around. Parking. Okay, well now I just want to pay for my parking as a result. I want to do it like a seamless process. Like I just want to book it. That's the place that I normally park. Pay for the parking. It's done with the digital parking meters, and you start to think about in that like reservation systems, and then you start to think about payments, and you start to think about product and marketing and all those things. Like this must, now that you're in there, this stuff must swirl around in your head like, oh, we could do this, and so where does this go for you guys? And to me, it doesn't seem like there's an end.
So I think calendar as a platform is the right thing. Right way to think about it. There's something that's non-obvious. There's two kinds of calendar users that we see from our data. And this is something we recognized a while ago. There are people who have approximately 4 events a week and birthdays. And of those 4 events, 2 or 3 of them are Facebook events. That's sort of one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is double booked. They're basically lots of meetings, back to back, almost back to back, pretty much every day. They're just moving between meetings. The key here is there are all sorts of contextual actions that you could bring into the calendar, as you mentioned yourself. Whether it's send gift, buy flowers, buy coffee, book a table, book a flight, whatever it might be. The key is sort of looking at your data and figuring out what are the biggest bangs for your buck. And we have a lot of data to know where we should focus in terms of what kind of contextual actions we want to bring. But the other part of it that is less obvious is there's not only actions, there's more kinds of data that we can actually bring into the event. So, we surface things about the people, about the places, about the conference call, and so forth. But, what about the company? What about your meeting notes? What about other sorts of semantic data that we can associate to that event? This effectively becomes more and more Uber preparation, productivity, whatever you want to call it. And then the third thing that's also non-obvious is other kinds of calendar events. So we're pretty good at understanding lunches, dinners, breakfasts, one-on-ones, team meetings, things like that. But let's say your event in your calendar said go to the gym, or let's say it said do 4 push-ups, take a 15-minute swim. What's nice about Tempo is its natural language system. So it actually knows that all of those events mean the same thing. They're all about working out. That's the intent. And so the question is, what do you want to see if you knew that it was about working out? And that's where it gets really interesting. So every event is a statement of intent. So there's more and more intents that we want to support, just like Siri is trying to support more and more domains. And so you're going to continue to see new kinds of experiences. But the key with all of this is we're constantly running 80-20s, meaning like, okay, go to the gym. Well, what percentage of our population, of our user base goes to the gym? Right? And we know that because we can actually run that stat.
But that is incredible. I mean, that is like you ultimately have the patterns and the habits. Like I would say that when you guys succeed at a huge level, you'll have as much or more qualitative data and quantitative data than the credit card companies. Right? Like seriously,
we know where you spend your money, certainly.
But then you also know all the side habits where I don't spend money, where I don't put down dollars, but that I go there, I do this, I'm here,
Yeah, in a funny way, what we know is what you plan on doing. We don't know what you actually did.
It's so true.
So most people put gym in their calendar, and they don't actually go to the gym.
How true is that?
Because we don't track anything in the background. Obviously, it's something we can do, but we don't do it today. But one other thing I was going to point out that's, again, very non-obvious in a semantic system. There is a semi-misperception that more data makes the system smarter. There's some truth to that, but more data also increases the noise. Right. There's this constant sort of right amount of data. Semantic systems don't always perform better with more data. There's sort of a right amount, and a lot of the work that we've done over the last year, to be honest, has been tuning. And there's a lot of subtle things that you may not notice within Tempo that were heavily debated. Even the use of the word searched and found. So Tempo searched and found these items. That used to be Tempo suggested. That's what it used to say. But suggested at a higher connotation. And the problem was when you were wrong, because people said, hey, it's not working. But when you say search, they think Google search, and it's like, oh, okay, it's just search results. I get it.
There's an allowable error limit or error rate in that, right? With that
of course,
search,
exactly, and that's why. But then people were like, well, then it seems dumb. It seems like you're just doing a keyword search. Well, we said so. The way we actually corrected that was we number our results. Again, a very non-obvious thing, but the results in Tempo are actually numbered to indicate rank and score. And we have some other ideas, but there was a lot of little UI things like that that were debated. I'm actually doing a talk in a couple of weeks on designing AI interfaces, and I talk about some of these things because I call this designing 95% UI, because the problem with AI interfaces is you never know if you're right or wrong. So you're always designing for, I'm pretty sure this is correct, but I'm not 100%. And it's not as forgiving as something like a Pandora or Netflix, where if the recommendation's wrong, you just zip past it. Here is like, this is critical stuff. It needs to be, if it feels too wrong all the time, you stop using it. It's a very delicate balance.
That's just a small clip of Raj Singh, who's the founder of Tempo. If you're interested in this app, it is now open up in North America. It's Canada, the United States. I know it's not available in Australia yet, but I'm sure that it will be eventually. They're rolling it out just based on the accessibility of data servers and experience. So if you're interested in, go to tempo.ai. And they were the first .ai domain name to come out as well, for artificial intelligence anyways. Tempo.ai, or you can go to, it's only available on iOS right now, Asif, but you can go to the App Store to download it and start embracing your calendar as operating system mentality. I like, there are a few apps like this that come out. Twist is one. Tempo.ai. I love Flock. I love these apps that are just super intelligent on top of the data that I'm already feeding into my device. And I think that this is obviously a trend that we're seeing, and certainly you guys should be a part of it. Tempo.ai. And I know, Asif, maybe I'll follow up with you next week to see how you like using this as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so thanks, Raj. Thanks for being a part of Untether.tv. Thanks for allowing us to use this clip on This Week in Location-Based Marketing, and we will be watching that company with a bated breath. So let's continue on with our stories of the week, Asif.
Yeah, so our next story comes from two companies that we know well, working together a little bit. Aisle 411, big pioneers on mapping indoor retail space, teamed up with Red Laser. And Red Laser, the company owned by eBay that was formerly focused on scanning barcodes and returning content. And the reason I pulled this one out this week is really kind of just goes with my whole consistent theme of eBay being this giant powerhouse in this space. And we're starting to see some of the fruits of that, the sort of the acquisitions and that kind of overall shopper optimization experience that I talk about coming together. And so what you have here now is the Red Laser app, which apparently there's 25 million people who've downloaded that now. So the numbers are starting to climb nicely. Not just scanning barcodes anymore, but coming back with rich data about the store environments that you're in. So for this initial integration, they've mapped 9,500 Walgreens and Home Depot stores in the U.S. So good numbers there. The app also, by the way, just as an aside, now has local deals coming into it from the Wear side. It's got pricing information. It's obviously going to have PayPal tied to it, so that you can buy stuff as well. So I mean, it's all coming together in one place. That indoor positioning, the mapping piece, the ability to scan a barcode and return content around it, the ability to pay with PayPal, the local deals piece, all that coming together in something that originally was just there to scan barcodes. And so I like this integration of services. I like the integration of the data from the maps coming from Aisle 411. This is a good partnership.
Absolutely. This is, I mean, we're starting to see, as you said, that kind of big vision coming together for this. And sometimes I think maybe it's a little bit overwhelming, but you can see it. The example that I put up on the screen there, while you were talking, Asif, if you're not watching and you're listening, it was just basically like, typing in simple terms, like I'm in a Walgreens and I just type in the word Diet Coke, and that's what was on the screen, and it shows me in the store where that Diet Coke is. I think that is just, a lot of people suffering through this, especially, moving to a new location, to a new house, a new city, using a new store. I mean, that integration, that onboarding process, I think is phenomenal. And, up here in Canada, Loblaws just went through an entire reorganization of all of their stores. And it threw everybody for a loop. They had these, wall charts on saying this that used to be here is now over here. And you start to think that the seamless integration that we're seeing here it will be the beginning. Instead of, we've seen some perfect examples of carts with screens on them, and where you can synchronize them with or you can put your iPhone into a little docking station that allows you to, or your tablet into a docking station that allows you to see where you are in the store and what's around and be pushed all this stuff. And I think that we're starting to see this experimental, obviously, but boy, oh boy, this is really that vision coming through. It's very, very, very cool, and it's good to hear from Red Laser, right? Again,
it is. Right. We don't hear enough from those guys.
We don't, and they were pioneers for the early days, and kind of disappeared behind the shroud for a little while, and now are emerging as a company that is just far greater than what went into it. So very, very, very cool. Yeah, so Aisle 411, if you're interested, just go to aisle411.com and you will be able to see what they're up to. and of course red laser. All right, I am payments. Last week we covered, or maybe 2 weeks ago, we covered another form of payment that Microsoft was trying to do with Connect and facial recognition and automatic payment. There just seems to be these really, I don't know, everybody's scrambling to try to figure out the best way to pay. So yep. I got to ask you, would you pay Asif in a busy subway by sound? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this is the most practical application, but why don't let me describe it, and then we'll get into it. So this comes to us from China, from Beijing, and the company that's driving this is a company called Alipay, A-L-I-P-A-Y, and what they've been testing here is vending machines, soda, pop vending machines, in the subway stations, as you just alluded to, where you basically walk up to it and pay with your phone. But it's not near-field communications. It's not scanning a QR code. It's using ultrasound. So basically, it's emitting a frequency. Your phone recognizes that frequency. It sends a one-time code to the sensor via sound, and the machine dispenses the drink. And apparently, the whole transaction happens in under a minute. And you paid for it with your phone. So on the one hand, it's nice to see that the ultrasound technology is starting to find other use cases. Obviously, the Shopkick guys pioneered this stuff in store for indoor location. With their whole Kickbucks and Shopkick program, and with Target and Macy's and all those guys. That's an interesting application because I think you have a fair bit of dwell time, as you're walking around a store and figuring out the position. We know indoor locations is big and important. We talk about it a lot. But as a payments platform, I think this is harder. Now, I'm not so concerned about, noise in a subway station or anything like that because we're talking about, very, very close proximity to the machine. So I'm not worried about that. I just worry about, that kind of just diversity in payment solutions right now. There's just so many different ways to do this. From NFC to QR to, carrier programs like ISIS in the U.S. to, you name it. There's just so many of these things going on. And I think it's very difficult for the retail community, the brands, to kind of decide what to invest in, what to test. I mean, Coke, for example, we're talking about vending machines here. Coke's been testing NFC, and they've had some good results with it. And obviously, NFC currently is limited because iPhone doesn't support it. Ultrasound, again, every phone supports that. So, maybe that's the approach that these guys are going for. I applaud the innovation. I applaud the willingness to try new things. I applaud the whatever the brand is that who owns these vending machines that wants to try this stuff and work with Alipay to make it happen. And a subway station is a perfect place for vending machines, right? I mean, you're waiting your thing, you need a drink, you're thirsty, whatever. I like all of that. So that's good. I just worry about the ability to scale something like this, in contrast to all the other payment solutions that are emerging.
Not to mention just straight up cold hard cash, which is something that also vending machines. This is interesting.
This is China though, so mobile payments is well much further along in the Asian markets than it is where we are. So,
and this is I just the conversation that leads to this, where it's like, okay, so we've got cash, we've got NFC, we've got we've got Bluetooth, we've got a whole bunch of other tap and go stuff. We've got debit cards and credit cards and all this kind of. What is the most off the wall thing that we can think of right now? The transmission. How do whales communicate? How do dolphins communicate? Let's pay with that. Like, I think that for me, it's like it's incredible innovation, and the fact that you can create unique noise, unique sounds for every transaction, which is what they do. That's how they're securing it. Every transaction has a unique sound. I'm not worried about this whole. I'm not concerned about security at this point because it's such a small, isolated piece. The only thing
we're not talking about paying your rent here. We're talking about buying a a can of soda.
Something, right? Something small, like less than $1 or less than $2 or whatever it is. Like, the risk of fraud is low simply because, it's such a small transaction. So I'm not worried about that. The one thing that struck me, really, well, two things. One of them is that a minute in a busy subway, I think, would be an eternity to wait. Even if it's less than a minute, even if it's like 40 seconds or 30 seconds, I think that's too long to wait for a transaction to come through, especially in this kind of always on, always going medium. And if you've ever been in a subway anywhere in Asia or on a train anywhere in Asia, you know that you don't have a minute to sit there and wait. I think that there's an opportunity for lost sales as a result from that. It has to be much faster. And the second thing is, like, even if we think about the sound that emanates from a busy subway station, I think that the technology that this could lead to, I think, is pretty significant when it comes to using sound as a means of identification or as a means of payment. Like, I think of Nuance, who just came out with this ridiculous thing called voice ads, where you're talking to an ad and you're interacting with an ad on your phone over voice, which I think is ludicrous, which is an idea that I think should just disappear. The last thing I want to do is talk to an ad in a busy place. But what they've invented, and I saw this at the VentureBeat Mobile Summit, was the Nuance voice ads. When you're talking to them, they created a technology that actually isolates your voice in a very crowded, loud room. And I think that is the technology that Nuance is going to be able to leverage, not the dumb voice ads. And I think the same thing here when you talk about subway systems using sound for payments. I think that there's something else that it will be used for as a result of this test. They're going to find out better ways to use it, because less than 60 seconds is too long to wait for a transaction, in my opinion.
Yeah, and who knows how long it actually takes, right? They're saying less than a minute. It takes 30 seconds anyways to drop the coins in the thing and get the thing out. So
yeah, but if it doesn't create a material benefit,
it's got to be better. Well, I think the benefit is actually to the vending machine owner,
right?
On this side, it's not to the consumer. I mean, they're talking here about the machines themselves cost about 15% more than a regular vending machine with this technology built in. But the savings to the operator is on eliminating counterfeiting, Cash management fees, somebody going out there to collect all that coin,
that's huge.
All that kind of stuff. Is huge savings here, right? So I think that's where you have to weigh the value proposition around this. It's not the consumer necessarily that's getting the big benefit. And
you'd be surprised. Consumers, you may think like, well, they're not thinking of us. Why? It's them first. But consumers have adapted well to retailers deciding on what's best for us. And it's just happened. You wake up one day and you're using this technology and you're thinking that, okay, less than a minute is fine for a transaction. We become spoiled but yeah, for all the benefits, this is innovative, and it's innovation that we want to highlight here. And I think that there's a few little things that will come out of this, but certainly, it's innovation and it's confusion by the number of ways to pay now. Back in the day, it used to be a gold bullion, or it used to be a chicken, and then it became a gold bullion, and then it became all this different currency, and then now it's becoming all these different ways to pay digitally, and they all come from the same spot, which is your empty bank account, and people want more out of that, right? So Beijing, working on that, interesting piece of technology. So why don't we, our last story here, see, we've killed that one. Let's go on to our last story here, which is around Kmart. Kmart.
Yes, good old Kmart. Part of Sears Holdings, Sears and Kmart, here they are. They're still pushing, they're trying. I mean, the one thing I can say about Sears Holdings, and I saw a lot of guys from Sears at the Ramp conference this week, is these guys are willing to do and try anything. They're fighting this brand apathy, nightmare that they're just trying to get out of, and they're investing and testing and piloting absolutely everything. This particular story is focused on the Kmart piece, as you just alluded to. And in particular on their loyalty program, which is called Shop Your Way, and it's a check-in program, tied to that loyalty. And what they've done is they've teamed up here with to develop a program around New York's Grand Central Station for what they're calling the world's biggest bake sale. I think is what it's called. Is that right, Rob?
Yes. Yes.
Sandra Lee's world's largest bake sale at Grand Central. It's going to happen on May the 1st, so it's not happening yet. And basically what happens is this is a charitable cause-based tie-up. So it's a check-in initiated thing. You show up at Grand Central Station, you check into the world's largest bake sale, you receive a free copy of Sandra Lee's new cookbook, okay, she's a big TV personality, chef, cooker, whatever you want to call her, and
she makes cookies.
She makes cookies, yeah. So the first 100 that check in get the book, and personally, I think that this thing could be expanded. I mean, why is it only 100 people? Why are they limiting it to that? I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot of work, for 100 people. But I think the message here, and this is one of the trends that we talk about a lot at our events that we're following right now, is the linkages between check-in based services, which have been waning significantly. But where they work really well is when you pair them up with cause-based actions, social giving related types of events. So I get that part of this. I understand the value around this. This is a charitable effort that's happening here. There is a reward, a tangible reward for the first 100 people that do this. And we've seen a number of these things before. We've talked on this show about, Kraft and Five Guys working with the Place Punch guys, teaming up, and, for every check-in at a Five Guys restaurant, you get a coupon for $1 off Kraft Singles cheese, but you also, $1 gets donated by those guys to Feeding America. We've seen, even check-in platforms, completely based around empowering nonprofits and charitable societies. So there's a platform called Check-in for Good, which is like Foursquare, but it's just a white labelable platform that any charity or any nonprofit or social giving organization can embrace and use. So this is definitely a trend. I like that Sears and Kmart are doing this kind of stuff. I just the execution seems a little bit small scale for me. Why isn't it everybody gets something for doing this? Why is it only 100 people?
Yeah, because it could be just as simple as a badge, right? That you get something that's unique, or you get a coupon, or something that reinforces.
You get a coupon for something, right? Everybody should get something. I think for doing this, it should. Yes, maybe the first 100 people get the book, but what is the 101st person get?
Nothing. Squat. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So there should be something there, or because it's tied to the loyalty program. Maybe you get some loyalty points. Yeah. Maybe you get, whatever it is. Like, you should get something.
Well, isn't the goal of this is like, so this is they're doing this in Central Station, right? Yeah. And so shouldn't be this. I mean, for Kmart's standpoint, this should be a way to get somebody from that event to eventually go into one of their stores.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be more to this than just show up at this event and check in here. There's got to be a linkage to drive traffic to stores. Everybody should get some form of reward around this kind of thing. Anyway.
So it's a good start, right? And I think that these kind of cause-based check-in initiatives, maybe this is the niche that check-ins eventually end up being in a retail application, for something that is very specific in time and place, and then from there, you hope that these guys like Kmart and the retailers can draw people back into their stores. Kmart is fighting this battle that it's tough, because when you're known as the brand of cheap, right? It is a brand, it's a big brand, but when you're known as the brand of cheap, you have to figure out different ways to compete, because the internet has made cheap ubiquitous, right? And mobile has made it even more so. So now how does that brand compete? And it is about doing these little things, supporting these things like this, the world's largest bake sale, but then you have to figure out a way to bring somebody from there and draw them into your store. So that 101st check-in at that location should receive something that brings them back into the store other than a free book. So, but good start, I think. I hate check-ins, but I like the cause-based idea.
Yeah.
So, all right, those are the 6. Walkscore, Nike, M-Dialogue, Aisle 411, the Beijing subway, Paying by Sound, and Kmart pushing their check-in software for the world's largest bake sale in New York City. So this is pretty cool. If you're there, May 1st, please let us know. Did you check in? Did you get a free book? Please. I'd love to hear from you. Asif would as well. One last piece of business here, which is this kind of ties everything that we've talked about together, Asif, not only just on this episode, but I think all 125 other episodes aside from this, is that this is study done by Accenture on the seamless retail experience and the desire for customers. Now, caveat here, they did a worldwide survey. I think there were 6,000 people that responded to this. But this is based on, the U.S. stats are based on 750 people, which I do not think gives a good enough chunk of the population. It's not even a good enough slice of the population to be able to really determine this. But the 6,000 person survey worldwide still doesn't give us a big enough glimpse, but there's some emerging trends that I think are very fascinating. What stuck out for you on this?
Well, a couple of the numbers in here. So they looked at showrooming and all that kind of stuff in store. So they found that 73% of the respondents indicated they participated in the practice of showrooming. 88% said they participated in web rooming. Which is when you browse first on the internet and then buy in store. Oh my God,
we need a better name for that.
Yeah, I don't know how they came up with that term, but I mean, don't we all do that? Don't we all kind of look online and kind of price compare and then go to the store? Yeah. Right. So that
and the web, web real estate is not expensive, right? So it's I mean,
yeah. I wasn't really shocked by that number. I mean, that seems to make sense to me.
Well, but who's not doing that? Like, that would be the question. And if you're not, you're an idiot, right? Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. There's some other good data in here, though. So one piece that really stuck out at me, and we're seeing this, from a number of different parts around retail. But one of the numbers said after purchasing, 81% of people said it was important for a retailer to enable them to pick up or arrange for delivery of their purchase, regardless of how they paid for the item. Now that's really interesting because we're seeing all of this kind of where we're seeing a lot of innovation right now is around real-time inventory data, this kind of stuff that Milo and Nearby now and all those guys were doing, so tied to mobile. So if I'm searching for an offer, I find an offer on a product, let's say at the Gap or something, and I've been waiting for that item, and now I got this coupon that says save 50% off, but the product's not available in store or I can't get it or whatever, then that creates some friction for me as a shopper. So that ability to understand, is it available? Can I pick it up? Can you put it on hold for me? Or can you just have the thing delivered to me? That I like that. That the numbers here are pointing to the technology is aligning with that. So that's a nice one. The other thing that jumped out at me. 49% of the people surveyed said that they were influenced by in-store offers via promotional displays and salespeople. So, they're talking to the value now of, you see an ad on a digital screen in the store, or, somebody says something to you, or tries to influence you with a conversation by a sales associate, or, just some signage, period. In-store, marketing works. 56% are influenced by email coupons and offers. And an equal number said that they were influenced by coupons mailed to their home. So I'm a little bit surprised by that piece, that that there's still 56% of people that are influenced by coupons being mailed to their home. But hey,
whatever gets you in the store.
At the end of the day, the good thing about these kinds of studies from Accenture and others is, there's data here that some retailer out there, some brand out there is going to go and say, that's the number we've been waiting for to justify this investment in technology, and now it's going to happen. So,
and I think that as I said, this is such a small sampling, right? It's so small, 6,000 people worldwide, 7,500 people in the United States. That you're going to see these anomalies. Like, people are still, what person is influenced still by getting coupons in the mail, right? But maybe I'm sure that there are. A good percentage of them. But, there was one statistic that's fascinating with me. It always has to do with the mobile aspect of this. And mobile and retail and location coming together and all of these things. So there's things like loyalty and real-time information about inventory, like you talked about, and actually real-time information about promotions while I'm standing in the store in line or, somewhere near a store. But way down the list, kind of like 65% of the people wanted to, here I'll read it to you, they wanted to order whatever they wanted. right? So that this kind of, we talk about this, the blending of the brands, right? So Amazon has done this so effectively. They've taken every brand into their store and then created an Uber brand around somebody else's brand, right? So you can get, multiple different products. But they said that one of the key things that mobile, location, and commerce play and payment play is that I don't care who you are, right? If I'm shopping at Sears or if I'm shopping at X number store, I want to be able to buy anything from any retailer from you and have it delivered to my door. And I think that that's a fascinating play here, is that this kind of, the brand of brands like an Amazon, this is where they play so effectively, is that if I can get toilet paper, bathroom tissue, CDs, electronics, books, and clothes all from one place, that's what people are looking for. And I want it delivered overnight or same day. So I think that that's a trend that we start to see. And you see the companies that are perfectly poised to do that. Walmart could be one of them. I think Kmart could be one of them. Target, Amazon. And then you start to look at the individual siloed brands, which are the cream of the cream of the cream of the crop of the brands that stay independent and that won't be sold through those channels. But this is this would scare me if I was an independent retailer in that middle tier brand that wasn't involved in all of these kind of things, right? So that stuck out for me in this piece.
Yeah, so we'll have that available on the research tab at the LBMA's website. So just go to thelbma.com/research. That'll be up there for you to peruse at your leisure.
Very cool. All right, that is episode number 126. Any parting words, Asif, before we let everybody get on with their day?
Just a shout out to a couple folks, a couple of our members that it was nice to spend some time with this week. Wearing the T-shirt here, so I got the Brick Trends Best Fit Mobile CompuCom.
Gotta stand up a bit more to see that. We'll get that right in there.
There we go. I'm wearing that today. So thanks, guys, for all your support at Ramp this week. These guys are doing, especially Brick Trends, is doing some pretty cool stuff around indoor location using low energy Bluetooth. So that's pretty cool stuff that they're going on
it's a
there.
Wicked name, by the way. Brick Trends. I love that name.
Brick Trends. I love it. I love that analytics. Kind of feel that name brings. And then Christina Garcia, I mentioned at Office Max, and Jeff Scott, who's also there. Guys, from me to you, good luck with. They're getting married, so congratulations with that, man. Really excited for you guys, and they've been big fans, big supporters for a long time of what we're doing, and just wishing them all the best.
Very cool. All right, we'll be back next week for episode number 127 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. If you happen to be in the San Francisco area or the Seattle area or Atlanta, reach out. I'm at rob@untether.tv. Asif is at asif@thelbma.com. And if you happen to be in any of those locations, show up at one of the LBMA events or reach out to me and let's connect. I got some time on Thursday. Let's get together and actually have a conversation in real life if you are around. But if not, we'll be back here for episode number 127 next week. And we thank you for watching. Remember, if you enjoy the show, whatever way you consume it, we'd love it if you maybe jumped on iTunes or any of your podcast subscription software. Just subscribe there. It's the best way to do it. And if you like it, just give us a good rating on any of those stores. We'd appreciate it. It's our currency and we'd appreciate it. That's the way we get paid. So please do that. And we'll be back for episode number 127 next week. Asif, safe travels, man, as you crisscross the nation.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
See you later, everybody. Have a good week.